Hello and welcome to another Grim Darkness Battle Report. Today we are playing Dropfleet Commander again, but we have some special things on the board. We have some space stations. So, considering how we got the space station pack, we are going to be playing Space Station Assault. It will be the PHR against the Shaltari again, but hopefully the space stations will switch up a little bit, and then next game we can have a different race on the field. So this is how the battle looks. We're using as much debris as possible because we think it helps the game a lot. And you've got 3 space stations in the middle, and then 1 on either side. And the fleets will come in on the corners. So that corner there, and then the corner all the way down here. Okay, so we will be back to you with the fleets. For the PHR, we have a Vanguard battle group, which contains a Hector and has a Vice Director Admiral on board. We then have a Line battle group with 1 Theseus and 1 Orion. We then have another Line battle group, which has Ganymede, 2 Pandoras and 2 Medeas. And then the last battle group is a Pathfinder battle group with 1 Icarus, 2 Andromedas, 2 Europas. For the Shaltari fleet, we have a Vanguard battle group, which contains 1 Obsidian, 1 Basalt, and 2 Amethysts. We then have a Line battle group. This contains an Emerald with 4 Void Gates. We then have another Line battle group. This contains 1 Amber, 4 Topaz. And then the final battle group is a Pathfinder battle group with 1 Emerald and 3 Void Gates. Okay, turn 1, first activation. Let's see what we got. 10 for the PHR, 8 for the Shaltari. So who's going to go first? The PHR are going to go first. Okay, so for the PHR, we've activated the Theseus and the Orion. They have done silent run-in and come on to the board. They're full thrust. I'll take this point to mention that we're using the commander bases from the model exchange. This is the first battle report we're doing it. The entire PHR fleet has these bases, and we're going to see how they play, how useful they are through the whole of the game. So now we're going to move on to the Shaltari activation. For the Shaltari activation, we have the Emerald Mothership. They've all come on in standard orders. It's the Emerald Mothership and 3 Void Gates. The 3 Void Gates have moved down into low orbit, and that's the end of the activation. Okay, second activation of turn 1. We have a 9 for the PHR and 12 for the Shaltari. So the Shaltari are going to go first. For the Shaltari's second activation, we have 2 Amethysts at the front, then the Basalt and the Amber. So they all came in on standard orders and just moved their full thrust onto the battle. Now moving on to PHR activation. The PHR, they activated the Icarus, 2 Andromedas and 2 Europas. They came onto the board, silent running, moved their full thrust up. End of that activation. Third activation, draw of turn 1, and 10 for the PHR, 9 for the Shaltari. So the PHR will go first. For the PHR, they have, this is the Hector's activation. He has come onto the board, silent running, as everybody else, moved his full thrust, and yeah, same, is still in high orbit. Alright then, for the Shaltari, the Emerald, that one there, has come onto the field along with 3 Void Gates, which are just kind of spat around. We don't really know which Void Gates are with which Emerald, but it doesn't matter massively. Yeah, they came on in standard orders. The Void Gates dropped down into low orbit. And that is the end of the Shaltari move. Okay, the last activation of turn 1. So we have 9 for the PHR and 14 for the Shaltari. So the Shaltari again first. The last activation of the Shaltari, this Obsidian has come on to the board. It looks like it's in low orbit, but I'm pretty sure we have just handed the dials for that. And the 4 Topaz have also come on. So they're all going to be still high orbit, standard orders. And yeah, that is the last last activation of the Shaltari. So their forces look like this currently, end of turn 1. And now we'll move on to the PHR. Last activation of turn 1 for the PHR, we have the Ganymede with 2 Pandoras. We did standard orders for the group, as you can see by the grey bits on their bases. They have gone down into low orbit. It's grey with the commander bases. And that's kind of how the PHR look at the end of turn 1. Both the Medeas have split off to go to a space station each. So now we're going to move into turn 2. Alright then, turn 2, first activation. Let's see who's going first. We have a 9 for the PHR and 12 for the Shaltari. So, Shaltari are going to go first. Shaltari activation, we have the Basalt, Amber and 2 Amethysts. They all just moved up, they're still in high orbit. They are still, there's 1 spike on the front Amethyst. He has active scanned the Ganymede. So the Ganymede now has a minor spike on it, as you can see by the shiny yellow triangle. So yeah, that's the end of the Shaltari activation. For the PHR activation, the Icarus, the 2 Andromedas and the 2 Europas did standard orders. They turned a bit to avoid the asteroid field and moved towards the center space station. So yeah, that's the end of their activation. They're still in high orbit. And now we're going to move on to the next draw. Okay, second draw of turn 2. We have a 10 for the PHR and an 8 for the Shaltari, which means the PHR are going to go first. Okay, so we've activated the Theseus and the Orion. They did standard orders, turned a little bit, and moved forward. Now, because the Amethyst happens to have a major spike, because it did an active scan, that one there, it's in range. So we're going to open fire with the Orion, which is the only one that has it in arc, with its side battery. So it gets 8 shots. They hit on 4, so I'm going to roll these now. 4 plus lock. So that is 2 criticals with the 2 6s, and then we need to do 5 armor saves for the Amethyst. So it has failed 2 more saves, so it is dead. We'll see how it explodes. A 1. Bright flash, burn up, and nothing else. So that ship is dead, but that is all. Shaltari first activation of turn 2. The Emerald here activated along with its 3 void gates. It did standard orders and moved up. So these void gates are still in low orbit. So is this one here. He's going to deploy troops onto the space station. And the Emerald just moved up a bit. Now we're going to move on to the next activation. Third activation of turn 2. So we have 10 for the PHR, 14 for the Shaltari. So the Shaltari are going to go first. Okay, so the Shaltari activation, the 4 Topaz and the Obsidian moved up. The Obsidian went half his thrust. Topaz went a bit further. And yeah, standard orders still in high orbit. Now we'll move on to the PHR activation. Nothing special for the PHR activation. The Hector here with my Admiral on. Did standard orders, moved to avoid the debris field, and moved full thrust upwards. Now we're going to move to the next activation draw. Last activation draw of the turn. We have 9 for both, so we have to do a roll off. So I've got a Vice Director, which I believe is free. Do you have an Admiral? So we'll double check that, but I'm pretty sure the PHR won that, so the Shaltari will go first. The Shaltari activation was this Emerald and these Void Gates. So what's happened is, or at least 3 of them I believe. 4. Oh no, all 4. So the Emerald has moved half thrust. The Void Gates I believe are all in low orbit. And now we've got some nice chains we can drop troops off to that space station there. They all went standard orders. Now it's on to the PHR's activation. For the last activation for the PHR for turn 2, the Ganymede, the Ganymede and the rest of its group decided to use the active scan. So you can see there's a major spike on this Pandora, and we have put a minor spike on this Amethyst. Both of the Medeas, this one over here, have moved up to the space station, as has this one, so they can drop troops this turn. The Ganymede itself went standard orders and moved up. It's a full thrust, quite slow these things, and the other Pandora just moved up with it. So that is the end of the PHR activation. So we're now going to go into the launch phase. Okay, launch phase roll off. Let's see who wins. Okay, runaway dice. So that means the PHR win because I have an admiral. So that means that the Shaltari will deploy things. Okay, for the end of the launch assets phase or the roundup phase, there are 2 bombers on this Icarus from the Assault over there. There are 2 on this Medea. The Medea has put a tank in the space station. Same for over here. There are 4 bombers on this poor Topaz over here, coming from the Icarus. And the 2 Andromedas there. 2 Pandoras. No, yeah, 2 Andromedas, sorry. And then we have a tank in this space station and a tank in this one. Now, as far as we're aware, Strikecraft only drop tanks. So we put tanks down on the space stations. Let us know in the comments if that's right or not, if we can actually drop singular troops or not, if you're allowed to put tanks on space stations. But yeah, so this is how the board looks at the end. Oh, we lost focus. There we go. This is how the board looks at the end of turn 2. So now we're going to move on to the first activation of turn 3. The first draw of turn 3. Okay. So we have 10 for the Theseus and the Orion, and 12 for the Amethyst, Basalt, and Amber. So the PHR are going to go first this time. Alright then guys, first activation of turn 3. I activated the Theseus and Orion. Now what's happened is the Theseus has done active scan, so it's gone straight forward. The Orion did a standard order and has turned a little bit. Now both the Amethyst and the Basalt are in the arcs that I want them to be. So we're going to have the Theseus is going to open fire against the Amethyst. So it gets 10 dice. All of these are hitting on 4s. Okay, this is the side arc hitting against the Amethyst. Put this together. So there's 2 6s there, which is 2 crits, and then this whole hits on 4s because the light caliber, and that's another 5 armor saves against the little guy. So we're going to roll those armor saves now. So that at least 3 of them are failed, so it's definitely a dead ship. That one was cocked, but he's definitely dead. Move these out of the way a sec. And then see how big an explosion it does. 2, which is nothing. Now we get 8 shots from the Orion. These are going against the Basalt. These are lock 4+. So what we have there is we have 1 crit and 3 armor saves. So these are 5-up armor saves. 2 fail, so he takes 3 points of damage. Okay, that was the PHR activation. Now we're going to move on to the Shaltari one. The Shaltari activation, the Basalt and the Amber have moved up. The Amber is going to open fire onto the Orion. So he has 4 dice, which are lock free. I'm going to open fire now. So that's nasty. That's 3 criticals and 1 armor save. So for the armor save, you get a 1, 4 points of damage straight to the Orion. Nasty, nasty. Okay, so going to add that on, and then we're going to move to the next activation draw. Activation 2 of turn 3, and we have 10 for the PHR and 8 for the Shaltari.
You can go first.
So the PHR are going to go first. Really exciting activation. The Hector did silent run in and moved forward a bit. I don't want to do anything crazy with it because this Obsidian will try and blow it up, and so will the 4 Topaz. So you can't really do anything this turn, so it's not going to do anything. Anyway, now on to the Shaltari. For the Shaltari turn, this Emerald, standard orders, has moved up a little bit, and it's going to take a pot shot at the Theseus. The Void Gates moved around, so you know they're within 18 inches of each other. So now the mothership's going to open fire. And all the dice are going to fly around, as per usual. We are planning on getting a dice box to help with this. So the lock value is 4. So that is 1 crit and 2 hits. So 2 armor saves with Theseus, and they're both saved. So 1 critical hit on Theseus. and we'll add that now. Now it is time to go to the next activation draw. All right then, third activation of turn 3. Let's see what's going to happen. We've got 14 for the Shaltari, and we have 9 for the PHR. So I think we are going to let the Shaltari go first. For the Shaltari activation, they have done the obsidian and the topaz they've done a course change to get round basically the asteroid fields that were here. Managed to drop 1 bomber from that topaz. Now they're going to open fire on my poor light cruisers. To start with, we're going to do the 4 topaz against the Orion, which has already lost 4 points of health. So we get 8 dice, which are lock 3. 8 dice, lock 3. And they're running away again. So what do we have there? So I can see 1 critical and 4 armor saves. So 4 free up armor saves. So that's 3 failed. So that's another 4 points of damage done to him, which will bring him up to 8 hull. So that means he is crippled. So please roll on the crippling table. We get a 3, which is hull. We get a 2, which is scanners offline. Okay, so no extra damage, but he's got scanners offline. Now we're going to fire the obsidian, and it's going to target which ship? So the obsidian is going to target the Theseus. So he gets 2 shots, which hit on the block value of 3, and they automatically crit and do 2 points of damage. So that's a 2 and a 6, so the Theseus takes 2 points of damage. Okay, now we're going to move on to the PHR activation. So like a second ago, I said we were going to go on to the PHR turn, but actually we have to resolve these bombers now. So 3 bombers against 1 topaz, so that is 6 dice. We have a lock value of 2. So that is 3 crits and 2 normal hits. So now we're going to see what the point defense roll is for the topaz. So 5s and 6s we're looking for. I can see 2, that removes 1 crit. So he takes 2 crits, and he must roll 2 armor saves, which we can roll now. They both fail, so the ship dies. Roll to see what happens with the explosion. Get some of these dice out of the way. We roll a 4.
Shredded.
Which is shredded, and that goes 1 inch, so it hits nothing. Okay, cool. Now we're going to move on to the PHR activation. For the PHR activation, this group here has gone standard orders. They've moved a little bit, they've shimmied a little bit in order to get some firing arcs on these 3 topaz here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open fire to start with using the Icarus. So it's on its side arc. So I get 4 shots. These will be 4 pluses, and they're going against this topaz here. So that is 2 armor saves for the topaz. So it passes 1, so it takes 1 point of damage. Fair enough. Now we're going to use the close action of the 2 Andromedas. They get 4 dice, which again are 4 pluses. So we have 2 there, so now I get the point defense. There is 1 5, so 1 armor save again on the ship. We need to clear some dice out of the way. But that's a 2, and that ran away, and it's a 2. So that ship's now crippled. I'm going to come over here and roll the crippling table. We get a 1, so subsystems. We're going to roll again, and we get a 6, which is energy surge. So it suffers 2 additional points of damage and dies. So we're going to see what happens when it explodes. It gets a 4, which is shredded, and that happens 3 inches. We'll measure how far that bubble is, and then we'll do the Europas. So the blast wasn't big enough to hit the other topaz. So both the Europas, which are in arc, are going to fire at that yellow topaz there. They get 6 shots, which need 4s for lock value. So that is 1 crit and 2 armor saves. So now we'll move that out of the way. 2 armor saves. Both have failed, so that ship has been crippled. Roll on the crippling table. Get a 1, which is subsystems again. Then we get a 5, which is again energy surge. So that ship is dead. Let's see what happens when it explodes. That ran away, but we get a 6, which is a distortion bubble. And that explodes 1 inch, hitting absolutely nothing. Okay, but that ship is now dead, and that's the end of that PHR activation. We're now going to come back to you and resolve those bombers. Time to see what happens with these bombers then. So they get 4 dice, which are lock free. So that is 1. The Icarus gets 5 point defense. And we get a 6, which stops it. So nothing from those bombers. We're now going to move on to the 4th and final activation draw. Final activation draw of turn 3. Double 9 again. So we're going to have to, you can't really see it, it seems like it's rubbing off that one. Right, so we're going to have to roll off for it. We both get a 2, which means the PHR win. Because I decided to go for an Admiral. And we're going to let the Shaltari go first. For the Shaltari activation, this Emerald membership moved up a little bit. It couldn't open fire on this group because it was out of range, or there was that asteroid field was in the way. And these void gates kind of moved around a little bit as well. So now we're going to go on to the PHR activation. Nothing much for the activation for the PHR. This Ganymede, well, we did active scan. This ship here with the major spike did an active scan on the Amber over here. And the Medea's moved a little bit, still in range of space stations, but that's kind of it. Now we need to resolve the bombers on this Medea. So it's got 4 dice, they're lock free. That is 1 crit and 1 normal. I gain 3 point defense. I get nothing, so armor save, and I pass. So we take 1 point of damage. Okay, now we are going to move into the roundup phase, or the launch asset phase. Roll off to see who goes first with activation. Oh, the Shaltari win this time. I get 4, he gets 6. So the PHR go first. Roundup phase for turn 3. There are 2 bombers on this ship, launched from the Basalt. The Basalt itself has 2 bombers and 2 fighters on it. There are also 2 bombers on this Topaz. So we're going to resolve the bombers now. So we'll do the Shaltari ones first. 4 dice, lock free. So that's 1 critical and 3 of nothing else. So the point defense. Nope, so 1 point of damage is done to that guy. Now 4 dice against the Topaz. So he gets 6 point defense, I think. We'll roll the 4 dice. 3 criticals. Nice. So that's 1 critical removed, so it means he definitely takes 2 crits. And so he now needs to roll on the crippling table, which we'll do over here. We get a 1, which is subsystems. And then we get a 2, which is a bright flash, and nothing else. So he's okay, but he's lost 2 points of damage. Alright, the other thing we need to roll for is the scanners offline for the Orion. So 4 plus, get a 5, his scanners are back, excellent. The only things that happened were some tanks were dropped here, some tanks were dropped here, I have one over there, and over here we're going to have some ground combat next turn, which should be nice. Yeah, so that's the end of turn 3, sorry, now moving into turn 4. Alright then guys, first activation of turn 4, let's see what we've got. Oh, 10 for the PHR, 12 for the Shaltari. The PHR will be going first. Let's see what happens. Okay, for the PHR activation, the Orion and the Theseus, they have gone weapons free. They have moved up. The Orion is going to fire first. I've managed to get the Amber in a double arc, so I can shoot both the front gun and the side gun. So we have, that is 10 dice. 8 from the side, 2 from the front. These are all lock 4, going against the Amber. What have we got there? So that's a lot of 1s, but we have 3 crits. Ooh. So 3 crits and 2 armor saves. Both pass, so 3 damage so far. Now we're going to do the other side. going against that void gate because I don't like it. It should die. So, and here we have another crit and 3 armor saves. One is failed, which is enough to cripple the ship. I roll a 1, which is subsystems, and a 4, which is on fire. So the void gate is on fire. Okay, now we have the close action of the Orion into the amber. So we get D3 plus 1, 6, that's 4 dice. These are all lock free. So that's 2 crits and 1 normal. So now we get the point defense from the amber. Alrighty then, so we have a 6 and a 5 and a 6. Oh, 2 6s. So that's both the crits gone. So 1 armor save then. Which is failed. So that is 4 points of damage done to the amber so far. We had a little bit of an issue with the camera there. So basically we're going to open fire with the Theseus. Now he's going to fire against the amber. So we get 4 dice from its medium caliber battery. This is a lock 4. So we have a crit and 1 armor save there. So we'd roll the armor save, which is a 6, so it's fine. So he's taken a critical. And now we have the 6 dice from the light caliber battery. Now this is 5s. And we get 3. So 3 armor saves for the amber. And he passes all 3. The dice are liking the Shaltari at the moment. Now, because I went weapons free, I'm also going to open fire with my other arc into that void gate there. And we use the close action against that void gate. So we're going to get 10 shots, 4 plus on that void gate to the side. Just grabbing the dice. So these are all lock 4. The light calibers get +1 because it's a small ship. Alright then, that is 3 crits. That ship is dead. Should we see if it explodes? 1, nothing. Excellent. Now I'm going to use the close action, which is D3 plus 1. So I get a 6, that's 4 dice. These are lock 3. So that is 2. So now I need the point defense of the void gate. And we have a 6 and a 5, which stops both, so it's fine. So 1 void gate's dead, the other one is fine. The amber has been crippled. It's taken 5 points of damage. So we're going to roll on the crippling table for the amber. And we get a 3, which is hull. And then we get another 3, which is armor cracked. So it takes 2 more hull points, and armor is 2 worse for the rest of the game. So I believe that can only ever be a 6 up. So we've got 6 up armor. Okay, now we are going to move into the Shaltari's activation. For the Shaltari, they have done a course change to get around the asteroid field, and the Basalt is going to open fire into the Theseus with all of its guns. So to start with, we have it a normal disintegrator batteries, which is 6 dice that have a lock value of 4. So on there. Okay, so we have 1 critical and 1 armor save. And we pass the armor save. Now it is the close action. Just move these dice out of the way.
These are also hitting on 4s.
So we have close action, hidden on 4s. We've got a 6, a 4, and a 2. We have the point defense from the Theseus. We get a 5, so I can remove the 4 and take the critical. So that's 2 damage done to the Theseus so far. Now the amber is going to open fire with its main guns against the Orion, and then it's going to put its point defense, the close action against the Theseus as well. So main guns, these are lock value 4. 3. Lock value 3. So we have 1 crit and 2 armor saves. So if I pass these 2 armor saves, I will survive. Both passed. 1 point of damage onto the Orion. Now the close actions going against the Theseus. Let's move some dice. So we're gonna put them here. Just moving some dice out of the way. And these are again 4s, so that's 1 crit, which would take the ship to be crippled. Actually, no, it wouldn't. So we currently taken 5 damage. Yes, so that would make it crippled, but let's roll the point defense for the Theseus. Okay, so we have a 5. That 5 and a 6 will remove the critical. Now the armor save of a 6. Cool. So that means that the Theseus is currently on 5 health and the Orion is on 9. The Orion was already crippled last turn, but we got rid of the scanners offline. Now we need to resolve the bombers against the assault, but we'll come back to you and do that. It turns out we were wrong. The Theseus, it has been crippled. I was using a reference sheet and like a printout from online, not the actual rulebook. We double checked and he has 9 hull, so he is crippled. So now we're going to roll on the crippling table. And we get a 2, which is subsystems. And we get a 4, which is fire. So he's on fire. Okay, now we're going to do the bombers. So there are 4 bombers on the basalt. So these are PHR bombers, so lock 2+. So that is 2 crits and 1 normal. Now there are 2 sets of fighters also on the basalt, so we have a lot of point defense. I'm going to roll all of these. These are going to run everywhere, so we're going to have to grab the dice together. Okay, so that ignores 1 crit. And that ignores another crit. And that's it. So 1 armor save on the basalt. That was a 3. What a 3, so it takes a point of damage, which brings that up to 5. So that's 5 damage, which is crippled. So now I'm going to roll on the crippling table. We get a 2, which is subsystems. And then we get a 5, which is an energy surge. So it suffers 2 more additional hull points, takes a spike, and is subject to orbital decay. Alright, now we're going to move into the next activation draw. Now we have second activation of turn 4. 9 against 14. So we were going to have the PHR going to go first in this. Alright then, second activation, turn 4, PHR. The group here, the Icarus with the Europas and the Andromedas, they have done a course change, done kind of a 90-degree angle, and they've moved up here. Now the Europas are linked. They're going to open fire on the Obsidian, and they're also going to open fire on the Basalt over here. So we're going to do that first. So we get 6 shots against the Obsidian. These are all lock 4. Oh, let's hope it doesn't continue like this. 1 armor save on the Obsidian. Which has failed. Woo, point of damage. Right, now the same 6 dice against the Basalt. That's a little bit better. So we have a crit and 1 armor save. Which has failed. So it's 2 points of damage done to the Basalt, which now has... How many points of damage does it have left?
3.
3 whole points left on that. Both of the close actions from the Europas are going against that topaz there. And we do 2 crits, nice, and 1 armor save. So it gets its 6-point defense. So we have 2 5s there, which removes a crit. So let's take 1 armor save. Which it passes, so it only takes 1 point of damage. Okay, let's clear some of these dice out of the way. Now the Icarus is going to fire 4 dice against the Obsidian as well. 3 5s, 3 armor saves. On the Obsidian, it's taken 1 point of damage so far. It's now taken 2 more points of damage, so 3 points of damage to the Obsidian. We're also going to do our close action against the Topaz for the Icarus. D3 plus 1, so that's 4. These are lock value 3, so we get a crit and 2 normals. So the point defense for the topaz, 6 again. It's taken 1 point of damage so far. So we get 2 things there which remove the crit. So he needs to take 2 armor saves. 2 5-up armor saves. Both have failed, so it's taken 3 points of damage and it's crippled. We get a 1 on the crippling table, which is subsystems, and then a 3, which is on fire. Now, the only other thing this group is going to do is it's going to fire the 2 Andromedas are going to fire their close action into the amber. They get 4 dice with block 4s. We get a 6, a 5, and a 4. There we go there. Now we get 9 point defense coming out from the amber. So I see 1 5 there. So that means it takes a crit and an armor save. 1 armor save for the amber, which is failed. So that's 2 more points of damage. How much hull does the amber have left? Or is it that? Is it dead, isn't it?
That's it, dead. So
the amber is now dead. So leave it there and we'll see if it explodes. A 1, burn up, nothing. The amber is dead. Okay, that is the turn for the PHR. Pretty decent. Now we need to move on to the Shaltari's activation. Alright, Shaltari activation, and this topaz is going to shoot the Orion. So it gets 2 dice hitting on 3s. That is 1 hit, so we get an armor save against that. And roll a 2, so I take a point of damage. So we're on, he's got 2 more health left. Very close to death. Or 1 more health left, because he took a point of damage earlier, and I haven't added it on. 1 point of that, 1 point of health left. So now a close action from the topaz. We get 1 critical, because it's a lock 4. So point defense. We get a 5, which doesn't do it. So that means that he's lost. Yes, so he's now dead. Dead by close action. So now we need to roll, see if it explodes. We get a 1. Burn up, nothing. Cool. Alright. He's dead. Sad time. Dead Orion. Now, the Obsidian is going to fire its particle lances at the Icarus. So, 2 dice. That's 4 damage. 4 damage against the poor Icarus. Okay, and then close action against the Icarus as well, because he is within range. I see a 6, a 3, and a 5. And it hits on 4s. So that's 1 crit and 1 normal. Point defense. We get a 5 and 6, which removes the crit. Sorry, not the over. And then an armor save, which is passed. So nothing. So 4 damage to the Icarus, and that's the end of the Shaltari activation. Okay, the next activation draw, which is for 3rd activation of turn 4. We have a 10 for the PHR and an 8 for the Shaltari.
I'll go first.
Shaltari gonna go first. So the Shaltari's activation, the 2 void gates remaining with this group and that emerald have moved up and they're going to do some damage. So not a lot, the void gates are actually going to open fire just because they can. So this void gate is going to target this Medea, 5 up. Nope, it's a 4. And then this void gate is going to target the Theseus. No, that's a 4. Well, alright, Cox, we'll give you that. Roll again. Oh, it's a 6. So now I get 5 dice to stop it. And we don't stop it. So now I have an armor save. Oh yeah, we're fine. Cool, okay. And now this emerald is going to open fire against the Theseus with its disintegrators, and then it's going to open fire against Icarus with its close action. So disintegrators first. These are lock 4.
Yes.
So that is 1 critical and 1 normal. So the normal armor save. We're fine, so it takes 1 point of damage. Already crippled, so I'm not going to do that again. And now the close action against the Theseus. Lock 4, so that's 1. Now 5 from the Theseus. And we get 1 5, stops it. Cool. Alright, now we're going to move on to the PHR activation. So for the PHR's activation, this Hector has decided to active scan, and he's active scan the Obsidian. so is now within range of the twin supernova lasers. So we're going to fire those, and hopefully I don't roll rubbish. We're also going to use close action against the last remaining topaz. So 2 dice, lock 3+, a 4 and nothing, great. So 4 and then a 3, so still keep going, and then a 2. Well, that was rubbish. 2 armor saves for the obsidian. That is a 3 and a 5, so he takes 1 point of damage. Completely worth it. Now it's D3 plus 1 for the close action against the topaz. And we get a 4, so that's 3 dice. Lock 3+. We get 2 criticals. Cool, so now we have the close action from the topaz. Sorry, the point defense from the topaz. So no, 1 critical goes through. So he's lost 1 more point of damage. He's got 1 point left. That was pretty poor. Damn you. The Admiral ship is not doing well. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next activation draw. Alright then guys, next draw we have 9 for the PHR, and that looks like 9 for the Shaltari. Well, it's rubbed off a bit, so roll off. And the PHR win. So, I think we are going to go first this time. Okay, for the PHR's activation, the Ganymede, along with the Pandoras and Medeas, they did station keeping, although the only one that used it was this Medea over here. The Medea that was here moved towards the middle space station, and both of the Ganymede moved towards the middle space station, and both the Pandoras moved up to fire their supernova lasers at the Obsidian. Because of the Hector's supernova laser hitting the Obsidian, it's now got a major spike, so we're all in range. So to start off with, what we'll do is we will fire the supernovas from the Pandoras. So these are lock 3 again. So 3 and a 4. 3 and nothing. So the last one, nothing as well. So 3 armor saves for the Obsidian. 2 of them have failed, so it takes 2 more points of damage. Both of those are also going to fire their close action weapons at the topaz, which they get 4 dice of lock 4, which is 1 crit and 1 normal. So now we get the point defense of the topaz. You can get rid of the normal, so it takes a crit, which kills it, yes? Yeah. So the topaz is now dead. Does it explode? 2. No, it does not explode. Not many explosions happening in this game. Very disappointing. Now the other damage to be done is 2 shots from the Ganymede's front gun against the Obsidian. Get some of these on the way. This is lock 4. We get a 5 and a 3. So 1 more armor save for the Obsidian, which it fails. Cool. Alright, so that's another 4 points done to the Obsidian this turn, I believe. Is it crippled?
Yes.
We have a crippled Obsidian. What happens on the crippling table? Get a 2, which is subsystems. And then we get a 6, which is an energy surge. 2 more points of damage, orbital decay, and an extra spike. Okay, now we're going to move on to the Shaltari's activation. Okay, for the Shaltari activation, the Emerald here and the Void Gates that came with it all station kept to stay in a line to put troops down. The Emerald is going to fire its close action and normal gun against the Icarus. So 6 dice, lock 4 from the main disruptor banks. So that's 3 crits, which is nasty. I think I'm on 7 damage, and that's it. I can't do anything against that. And now the close action. Which is one critical, 5 point defense, and I stop the crit with my 2 5s. Cool, so 7 is crippled on that ship, which has 11 hull. So we're going to roll on the crippling table now. We get a 5, which is core systems, and a 3, which is weapons offline. 3 additional points of hull means it's got 1 hull point left. And yeah, can't fire this turn. Nasty. So that's both the activations. So now we're going to do the roundup phase, launch any fighters or bombers or anything like that. and then come back to you. Initiative time for the launch phase. And PHR win, because I have an admiral. Okay, so for the roundup launch assets phase, there's 2 bombers on the Theseus, 2 Shaltari bombers on the Theseus, 2 Shaltari bombers on the Icarus. There are 2 PHR bombers on the Basalt. We have a ground combat over here. There are actually 2 PHR tanks. Was that what dropped this turn?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So there's 2 PHR tanks and 1 Shaltari tank here. We will be dropping another tank each afterwards. But we're going to do combat there. So 6 dice for the PHR, it's 4s. So that's 2. And then we get 3 dice for the Shaltari. That was a 6. And they get 3. So 3 armor saves for the PHR, 2 armor saves for the Shaltari. These are all 3 armor saves. So I lose 2 men. And he loses nobody. So ground war goes with the Shaltari. Now we're going to do the fighters. So 2 fighters shooting against the Icarus, which is 4 dice, lock value 3. 2 criticals and 1 damage, or 1 normal I should say. 5 point defense. We get 2 5s, which kills a critical, and then a 6 kills a normal one, so I take 1 point of damage through the other critical. Now we'll do the bombers against the Basalt. 2 PHR bombers, so 4 dice. That's 1 crit, 1 normal. They get 9 point defense. There's only 1 whole point left on this ship. That's not enough to do, well, that's enough to get rid of 1, but the crit still goes through, so that ship is dead. Does it explode? A 3, it does. It's shredded, because +1 for it being a bigger ship. Oh no. So it's just blazing wreck. Which gives a minor spike to everything within 6 inches. So just that void gate then, because it's not +1 because it's under 10 hull points. So yeah, that means everything within 6 inches is going to get an extra spike. Now we'll do the 4 bombers against the Icarus. 4 Shaltari bombers, lock 3. 2 bombers, 4 dice, lock 3. So that's 2 crits again. Lots of crits. 5 dice to defend. Nothing, so there's 2 points of damage, which will kill the Icarus. So does that explode? We get a 6, that's a distortion bubble. In fact, that's a...
Radiation burst.
No, it's +1 because he's 11 hull, so that's a distortion bubble. So roll that again and get a really low number, please. That could hurt. We're gonna do a big bubble and see what dies and then come back. So yeah, there was a ship here. It was a lovely Icarus. And I'm just going to read out what Distortion Bubble says. It says, the ship undergoes an uncontrolled reactor event. Any other ship within the explosion range suffers D6 hull damage from the backlash. Armor and passive countermeasures may not be taken against this damage. All 4 of those frigates are within range. So he gets to roll a dice and that's how much damage. So this guy first, 1 dice, 3. Right, he's crippled. The next guy, 5, he's dead. Well, I suppose he explodes as well. All right, this guy here, 6, he is dead. This guy here, 1, so he's all right. So now this ship's crippled, so we'll see what happens when it is crippled result. It's a 4, which is hull. It's got 2 points of damage. Hull, it's 2 points of hull left, and a 6, so it is also dead. So now. So those 2 are dead. Let's see how big their explosions are. This one first. A 5. So that's an explosion, which is nasty anyway. How far? 4 inches. Which will miss everything. Cool. So we can kill him and he's fine. Alright, now the other guy's going to explode. So how big does he explode? Oh, a radiation burst. Great. Now how far does that go? 6 inches. So that will hit this cruiser here. This one here had 2 hull points left. It now no longer has 2 hull points left. But this doesn't hit anyone else, so he dies. So now this guy's dead. Let's see if he explodes. A 4. So that's shredded. So how far does that go? 3 inches. Okay, that's not too bad. We can discount that and run over that again in a minute. The next guy, what happens to him? Oh, 1. So he burns up. Okay. So now we have shredded, which is 1 whole point, and we will get armor saves against that. So that's not going to do anything crazy. We'll just roll those saves. So that's 3 frigates in the cruiser, which died because 2 bombers took the last whole point off a cruiser. That was upsetting. I might have to go cry in a little corner for a while, but we'll come back at the first activation of turn 5. Okay then guys, that's where we've had to call the game. The Shaltari player needs to run home. So actually we've had a quick look over the rules, and the only ones that are critical locations are this space station, which I moved away from last turn, silly, and this one. This emerald's not in low orbit, so at the end of turn 4, which is the turn we've just played, it's well, it's even really. So we've got this space station is held by the Shaltari, as is this one. They both count as medium clusters. This one's held by the PHR, as is this one. And over here we both have a couple of tanks on it. Now we're not sure if you have more tanks on a space station or more units on a space station, you count as holding it, or if we both just count as contestant. If you count as holding it because you have more tanks, please let us know in the comments. That means the Shaltari win. If not, then it's a draw with, I believe it's, well yeah, 10 points each? No, sorry, 7 points each. 3 for each of the stations, and 1 for contesting the other station. So yeah, obviously this is the state of the board at the moment. Casualties wise, the Shaltari have only 1 cruiser, 1 combat cruiser, the Obsidian, still alive. He's got 1 point of hull left, so he's close to die. We even did a quick what would happen, and the Hector would have activated first and blown it to pieces at the beginning of turn 5. And the PHR have this ship here, the Theseus, is also 1 whole point away from death, and he would definitely have died turn 5 as well. But after that, it would have just been 2 emeralds, which don't have the greatest firepower. Possibly that if we continue playing, the Shaltari might have been able to pull a more decisive win with the Void Gates, or the PHR with the Ganymede basically untouched to go and take that one as a critical location in turn 6. But anyway, that's the end of the game. So it's a draw. The Shaltari have 7 and the PHR have 7. Yeah, very good game. The space stations, we didn't really get to use any of their guns, which I think is more of us forgetting them than anything else. There's probably 1 or 2 times when they would have been in range. We seem to maybe not drop troops as much and just enjoy killing each other a lot more. Obviously the massive distortion bubble, or radiation burst, I can't remember which one it is, big distortion bubble that happened here at the end of last turn did in 4 PHR ships, which was nasty. A big turn for the Shaltari then. But yeah, so there you go, there's the end of the battle. Now, as always, any rules that we did wrong, please let us know. Any issues with our format for the battle reports or the way we play the game, please let us know in the comments. And if you like the videos we do, subscribe. Thank you very much. Bye.